Okay, guys and gals, welcome to the US inflation rate live trading session, right? So, this is one of the key, well, for me, the key event. I was going to say one of the key events. It does sort of roll into obviously the central bank announcements and these sorts of things, but you know what? The number it is so good because and I talk about this a lot, and you would have heard me before if you've been around for a while. The US numbers, right? The US CPI numbers. Now I know there's sort of the core numbers, and then you got the sort of primary sort of CPI numbers, but really, what the central bank talks about, it is really isolating the year on year, and then when the year on year data gets when it stalls, right, and it's not doing too much else, that's when they'll micromanage the economies through the month on month CPI numbers, right? So, but it's the sort of the core number here that you know everyone can look at, and you're not going to get confused, right? So that's something that you want to be really sort of when these numbers do come up, in particular the CPI numbers, that you sort of you get obviously get a little bit excited, but sort of respect the numbers. They are good, and there's no sort of hard work around these numbers. Now, just as we go through the session there, if you've got something you'd like to ask, just type it into the chat there. I've got the chat sort of thing up, so we can actually I can answer some questions as we go. Now, let's just come back. Like every time you come back to the screens, there's pretty much basically the same process, right? You're looking at, basically see what's going on. And here I can tell, this page hasn't refreshed. So you got to go through and just do a little bit of work here. Dollar struggles, and there's a certain amount of information you can get here. But now that we're coming into the live markets and we're coming into the key sort of number for definitely the week, if not one of the key numbers for the month, that a lot of this data sort of just falls by the wayside. Now, the dollar is struggling, right? And there's the whole global sort of war thing going on, right? Which is, you know, that's the way the media likes to put it out there, like it's a war. I think it's just a negotiation, like looks like a one-sided negotiation. But so there's a lot of toing and froing with the tariffs. The big question mark is over, what impact it's going to have, and all these various different things. And that's something we have to sort of keep an eye on. Now, one other thing that's sort of coming through is the Ukraine agreeing to accept a ceasefire deal. Right, that's a real positive for obviously Europe. It's been in the pipeline for some time. Um, but that's to me, weak US CPI numbers and this sort of geopolitical news, it's got to be good for euro, right? And I'll come into that in a minute. Now, so there's not too much else to be done right now. We're looking at the markets, looking on the hourly charts. I know I've got a couple of rainbow charts down here. I'll go through those in just a sec. But the dollar index, which is just a cross section of a basket of the major pairs. It's terribly lopsided, obviously, with euro being sort of 58% of the basket. So it's more a reflection of euro than most of the other pairs. But you can see like there's like euros going up, right? Dollar index is going down, sterling's going up. Then we've got a little bit of a basket case. Okay. You've got the Aussie, Kiwi, and CAD for that matter caught up in it, as well as being a commodity currency. There's so many things happening with the CAD or like Canada, right? So you've got or dollar CAD, you've got the oil price movements, you've got the tariffs on Canada, you get the tariffs on China, which may obviously have implications, definitely implications for Aussie and Kiwi. So they are sort of pretty hard to sort of keep uh, abreast of, right? To me, like you can see I can see the outcomes here, and I've already sort of covered it on the live trade zone, but the trades are quite simple today, right? And you've got a little bit of an unwind, if you want to call it that, of the sort of safe haven trade, right? So to me, yeah, dollar Swiss and dollar yen, yeah, they're doing things, right? Strong dollar, yeah, that goes up. But there's sort of better trades here. And what I'm talking about is like euro and sterling are sort of gliding topside, right? And you know what? There's pressure on Aussie and Kiwi in particular, that the downside looks very attractive there as well. Um, you know what? And with that weakness in the commodities, okay, dollar CAD, you got to think dollar CAD would go up there as well. Strong dollar, wicked commodities, so dollar CAD topside. So the trades for me, just on the face of it, is one, two, three, four. There's five possibilities here, right? That you could be spreading, and you could obviously jump straight in the dollar index there as well. I'm not going to be chasing dollar Swiss and dollar yen. There's too many good things to be looking at. And this brings me to the chart here, right? I mean, I am using the LSG. I haven't actually used the Fibonacci retracement on this, and it came up super colorful, which was I like a bit of color in my charts, but this could be going a bit too far. Now, what? Oh, don't do that. Just move myself off the point there. So, one of the things that I was sort of looking at when you get a strong move like this, right? And I know Leonard looks at a lot of Fibos every day. You know, we never really did in the banks. I mean, we used to have the paper. You had to roll out this massive scroll, be about 20 meters long, and they'd be drawing things. So drawing Fibonacci's on those big grid sheets was pretty impossible. But you know what? When you've got to move like this, it's so aggressive, right? And this is, you know, the strong dollar pushing euro down, you know, the problems in Europe, Ukraine, Russia, etc. You know, they've had a huge run of weakness, and then you see the recovery pretty quick, right? German election comes out, a little bit of a mixed result. All of a sudden, they got some things going, reform. You got Ukraine and Russia sort of looks like they're going to do a peace deal. Everything seems to be pretty positive for Europe. And in this situation, I'm not going to draw a trend line from here, just keep drawing trend lines because once it gets past this point here, right? Once it gets past this sort of last sort of level where before it really started shooting up, there's no sort of levels there at all. And that's where Fibonacci's really come into play. And that's what I was looking at, right? The 61.8, well, it did a bit of work around that. Then the 78.6 is the next port of call. Basically, it's going up, right? Is what you're looking for. And there's no real like sexy trend lines except for some support trend lines to really hang your hat on, right? And it's the same thing for sterling, except sterling hasn't gone as far just yet, right? But you know what? If euro keeps going, we get weak US numbers, then sterling is going to continue to the top side, right? It's sort of like you've almost got to forget about how far it's come and think about how far it can go, right? And that's why I'm drawing Fibonacci's on those two charts, just to sort of give me a good idea of what's going on there. Now, the dollar index, well, actually, let me just come back just 1 second. So you've got obviously the bull bear pivot lines just going up. Now, I look pretty good, right? The whole thing, the whole premise around you know, Primetime Pro and using that as part of the structure is really to get you to get out of your head, right? This thing is going up. So human instinct, right? This happens all the time in the banks. So I don't think you're on your own. You see, oh, it's gone too far. Like it can't keep going, can it? And you're like, well, yeah, it can. That's how the markets work. They just keep going and keep going if the numbers fit the parcel. Right. So outside of that, as I've already sort of covered just there quickly, you know, it is always a little bit odd when you see euro and sterling sort of going topside, and you've got euro, I mean Aussie and Kiwi, like these four pairs would correlate not above 90% most of the time. Like these two 95%, these two 95%, because they're geographical locations. And then, you know, the four of them at least 90%, right? So anyway, we've got clear reasons why Aussie and Kiwi aren't rallying and why dollar CAD is still pretty bullish, right? The pressure on the commodities, you know, the pressure on China through these tariffs is going to impact, and these currencies aren't going anywhere in a hurry. So at the moment, to me, we've got some really good setups, right? And just on the daily charts, just to touch this before I get into the live trade hub, I haven't. I mean, I was doing some charts today. I got caught up with a few other things, but what I'm looking for here is I'm just looking to see visually without getting into the levels too much, just about what's going on here. Okay, the dollar, I can see the dollar sort of doing a lot of things uniformly. Dollar CAD, not so much, not playing the game, and these other pairs going up, right? Except for right, it's the same picture that we're seeing on the hourlies, right? So it sort of gives me a bit of comfort that I'm in the right direction. Now, let me just come back to the live trade hub. Okay, so I've just modified a couple of things, and I'll just to start, I'll just go into prime time analysis, right? The now I was sort of looking at this, and it's sort of just been you know what, we've been trying to get so many things operational online, and this is actually this whole table is going to be automated very shortly. I've got the prototype; it's not quite up to it yet, so I haven't released it. But just the two most important things here is the direction, right? Short-term trend and long-term trend. Now, I've just reshaped this table here. All I want to know is I'm not looking for levels at this point, right? When you're doing your analysis, you're like, okay, what I need to know is where is it going, right? And the forecast, if you line up short term with long term, then you are going to get a specific direction. Then from here, right, makes complete sense, right? You just got to, if you're looking for the right opportunity, you just got to get the timing right, whether that's short term or long term or both, right? So that's where we are with the analysis. And I did that today, and I was like, it was like a breath of fresh air. I'm like, okay, there we go. You can see exactly what to focus on, right? Obviously, the pairs that have direction are the ones that we're sort of focusing on and waiting for the timing. Now, when you come in to the live trade hub dashboard page, right, we're looking at a couple of things here, right? So euro, sterling going up, dollar index going down. No surprise. Dollar CAD. Dollar CAD is also going up on the hourlies and the 1 hour chart and the daily. So the time frame to be trading there, you could be looking at either trading on the daily chart or the 1 hour chart. Now, so the rest of them, the timing isn't just right just at the moment, right? And that's what you would be looking for as you come into these numbers. You're like, yeah, okay, I need to check the timing here, right? Because if I come back through and have a look here, and right, let me just come back to the live trade up. I did this a few hours ago, right? So euro short term down, long term was a bit sideways. Now, if I look at euro, yeah, see it's just fighting. It's just having a little bit of a battle here, right? We're sort of starting to go up. It's now sort of turning down on. Well, it was going down before short term. If I just have a look at the daily charts, and it's, you know what? This is the thing. I had a good question. I think it was from you, Brendan, the other day. The on the stochastics here, right? Now, really, to me, stochastics isn't going down until it breaks back down below the 80 line, right? So, you know what? Human instinct, and this is where Brendan asked the question, because I sort of just put in, you know what? It was a setup like this, and I'm like, well, you know what? It's close to turning down, so I'll just put it as going down. But the fact is, that could trade sideways for days. Okay, and it's as I said, it's not going down until it goes down through 80, then it's going down. That's when momentum has fully turned, right? You can, you know, if you're using the early entry signal, yeah, the early entry is like your first potential area to get in. We're at the sort of peak level. We're waiting for the nail in the coffin to tell us that euro is going down. That would be strong US numbers would do that for us, right? So we've got a couple of setups here that look a little bit juicy. Let me just come back to the live trade hub. Let's focus on the number here. It's 16 minutes past. So like, there's a couple of key things here with the currencies in the zone, right? Obviously, getting a clear forecast, up or down. Then you know exactly what you're doing. Then you're looking for, okay, am I executing short term or long term? Okay, hourly or daily chart. And then the timing of the trade, right? That would be largely determined, you know, when you're looking at stochastics and weighing up those things, or if you've got some key data. And that's what we've got here. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out here what we need, right? Like euro and sterling, these two things are going up. So weaker US CPI numbers is a tick for those two things. Weaker US CPI numbers is a good one for the dollar index if you're into that. And a strong dollar, right? Well, then I'd be buying dollar CAD, right? So that's, and you know what? The fact is, I always say this as well, like, yeah, all of these things will move, whether this is weaker or stronger. What we're trying to isolate is the pairs that will move easier and more if they're a certain way and with the trend, right? So we want these things going up. So we want weaker US numbers. We want weaker US numbers for this, and a stronger US number is our backup for dollar CAD. Now, let's just have a look what we need here. This isn't like too difficult either. I mean, US numbers, as I mentioned in the daily today's trading action, right? Which is, you got the year-on-year number 2.9, 2.8 to 3, the range, previous number 3. It's more there for a filler than anything. It's always good to know what the month on month is, but really it's this one here that is going to be the main tool for us. Now, one of the things you'll notice with the data, it's really coming in tight, which is like more for normal market conditions. When inflation's out of control, it's shooting up and then it's coming off and all this sort of stuff, you get situations where the data can be like, 2.2 to 3.1, right? It's very hard to get some sort of action on this. But now we've got tight ranges. It's quite good. The market's steadied. Obviously, the average is 2.9 in the middle. But if we get weaker numbers here, and what I'm talking about is below 2.8, that's when things are going to really rock, right? We get a 2.8, you're looking to buy euro and sterling, or this is my suggestion for me, or sell dollar index. Okay, so blue for up, blue for buy, red for sell. Strong US numbers, dollar CAD. And as I was sort of saying at the start there, they're not up on the table there at the top, but I tell you what, Aussie and Kiwi do look appealing to me. Okay, they do look good. Like there's room to go down here. So, but what we need is obviously, some stronger numbers. And the numbers in the States, we had a run, we had that run of stronger numbers. Now we're starting to see the numbers sort of drop off. It's sort of hard to work out where we're at. That's why this is so important for the whole market. Okay, so there's two things. Now, what you need to understand and prepare yourself for, there's a potential outcome for a weaker number, a stronger number, and there's also a very likely possibility that the number comes out as expected, right? Now, why I say you have to factor that in, because you know what, with these numbers, especially the CPI numbers, there's a big build-up of, like tension and excitement. And, you can sort of see the numbers. You're like, you know what, if the numbers just come out my way, I'm in, all this sort of stuff. Yeah, that is true. But if you don't expect also an outcome as expected, then you're going to get performance anxiety. What usually happens is you run in and then you start sort of throwing trades around when you shouldn't be. All right. So that's where we are, right? So there's two ways there's a couple of different ways here. Now we've got we're using sort of C Trader at the moment as with our for our execution and stuff. So I've got to work out here. So like the tools here, T-Rex are very similar for C Trader, right? But having T-Rex, Trendline Trader, and these other tools on MT5, I'm starting to really, see the luxury that we had with those. Now, there's a couple of different things. Now, for some traders, trading the numbers, right? It's difficult. Okay, you're dealing with liquidity that disappears out of the market just before the number comes out. So if you're using pending orders in the markets, it's bloody tricky, right? So what you want to be doing if you've got trend lines around, okay, or if I've got a clear direction on the downside, like I really do like the look of these two things, almost more so. Dollar CAD, I mean, stronger numbers, dollar CAD topside. Well, momentum at the moment is down. that can change very quickly. But the momentum is already down on the Aussie. I like the Aussie downside, so I'm thinking of just placing a pending order on the Aussie on the downside and top side. Well, I've got to be a part of more. See, and I'm not because when the data comes out, stochastics doesn't mean anything because it'll change with the data, right? Especially short term. But sterling is looks like it's dying to have a run to the top side. So for me, like weak US numbers, I wouldn't mind getting long sterling. If I get strong US numbers, I wouldn't. I'm going to be looking to trade the Aussie, right? That's where I'm at now. You guys, you've got the chat there. If you've got ideas, by all means, throw some bits and pieces in there. What you want to have a look at is, I'm seeing a bit of a bounce here in the equity markets, which is understandable, from the last couple of days. The US Treasury yields, well, the long dated, the 10 or 20, 30 years are slightly up. The short dated stuff, it's come back a bit. Not too much influence, right? And then you've got the major currency pairs, right? They are as confused as most traders are out there in the markets, wondering what's going to happen, right? That's why they aren't doing anything at this stage. I like the look of sterling. It's going up against everything. So that's sort of, to me, sterling topside is something I need to be thinking about. Now, the other thing you need to think about is if you're getting into this trade, right? I'm just trying to find, where's my sterling chart? Let me just get rid of Primetime Pro. So there's no point just at the moment using Primetime Pro, right? It's going to be good after the numbers, okay, to get into the trend if we do get this trending market. So what I need to do is get sterling up here and, okay, let's just go with 10 lots to crank this thing up. Well, yeah, so obviously for those traders who haven't looked at the numbers before, now I'm just going to go in with a 25-point stop. Make sure I'm not messing that up. Take profit. Let's just go a hundo. What I was going to say is you've got to manage the liquidity just before the release, right? So I'm going to put a stop. Entry. Where's the price here? Just trying to work out where all my numbers are. Oh no. I've been messing around with this all day, and wouldn't you know it, I'm just trying to get not the watch list. There we go. I want the numbers. What have I done there? Up the top. Okay, so hang on. What I'm trying to see is just get a better look. I mean, I can see on the right-hand side is just what I'm looking to do is get into the market, right? We've got about 4.5 minutes to go. I want to be getting in about 15 points above the market, right? Because we're going to see a little bit of slippage here. So what I need is a stop. About 63. Okay. Now stop loss 25, take profit 75. That'll do for the moment. Ah, God. You can tell I'm used to all my regular sort of tools. Then I don't know if I'm going to be able to get on the Aussie here. So what I'll do is I'm just trying to work out because I'm trying to use just one screen here, is to get the numbers up. Just keep an eye on stronger or weaker numbers. To me, weaker numbers are the best outcome. Dollar's already going lower, so that's why I'm sort of focusing on sterling top side. Aussie downside, it's a little bit dreamy if we've got strong numbers, but that's where we are. And I'm using, unfortunately, I'm using a server here, a bigger server than maybe some of you were using, but let's just get that over there. What I'm trying to do is just shrink this up so you can sort of see the numbers. so I can see the numbers and you can also see what's going on. Um, yeah, I might just have to stick that over here. There's the clock. All right. Okay. So now the numbers here, right? So it's a matter of just sort of breathing is the number one thing. 2.9. Okay, the range here. Now, for weaker numbers, I need, and what I'm looking for is a number below 2.8, right? It's going to drop in right there. Okay, that to me, I will get into the trade. Okay, I'll let the trade get triggered. If it comes out 2.9 or 3, I'll just cancel the order straight away. That's the general sort of idea of it. Well, gotta let Daniel in. Um, yeah, so Danny's you can use pending orders. Are we going with a smaller trade size than usual? Okay. Just because, I mean, you don't have to sort of go in and hurt yourself. The problem is, right, you could get like I'm potentially putting on a buy stop here, right? And the we might get weaker numbers, but you might see a ricochet to the downside first, and that's the problem. Um, you know what? In saying that, I might just trade live because that's I've got a bit more control. This is like the main aim of what we're trying to do is get into the trade, right? So this makes me feel a bit more comfortable already. You got more control, not just trading live, but you can lose control of the entry if the numbers say the number comes out at like 2.7, right? It's going to like shoot up, but I can deal with that. Now, what you need to know just before the number comes out here is where it is, right? So, and you've got to have a target. So there's no levels on the top side. So it's going to be hard to get into sterling. That's why I think there might be some slippage. So looking at like 65 up to 15 points, I'd be comfortable to buy up to 65, right? And the downside, I'm not looking for the downside at all. If we get a slightly stronger number, I'll sit back, I'll have a look at the market, and I still think the dollar will trend lower. It has to be above 3% to sort of turn things around. All right, so we've got the clock up here. I've got a bit of stuff on the page here.
Stuff on the page.
Let's right. So I've got market, right? It's market order. Okay, 46. See how it's widening out already? It's like it's getting nasty. Oh my God, it's in the 80s. You guys got the numbers up there yet? Okay, there they are now, right? Doesn't help when they're late. 2.8, so on the weaker side, right? So that price gapped up to almost 90, right? So I would have been set in the high 80s had I left that there. Now, what I would be doing is trying to get potentially into this trade a little bit lower. Now, let me just move this platform out of the way so I can just give you a bit of a rundown. Now, anyone, I'd like to know if anyone had a small pending order there just to see where you got set. Now, the core number is slightly lower as well. We're on the slightly lower side of the equation there, 2.8. The month on month's a little bit lower, and same with the core, right? So across the board, the numbers, they're just that little bit weaker, but it gives us a chance to get in. Now, I'm thinking it back towards 65 would be a good spot. That didn't trade. What's going on there? Oh, I'm going to hit place order. My God. So I'm just sort of having a look here, right? So you look for the retracement. Don't forget, we're down at like 40, 45. Okay, I just bought 10. Just want to see how that sort of plays out. Now, so that's where we are, guys. There's not much more to be done there. All we need now is things to kick into gear for us, right? So the and yeah, let's just have a look here. So everything's starting to sort of move top side. Okay, you've got don't forget. So the move up to 90 for sterling. Yeah, that's you don't want to be getting in there, obviously. Aussie's starting to move topside. You're getting a weaker move here on the dollar, on dollar CAD, across the board. So it makes me feel a little bit better. And if we've waited to get in here on sterling, right? As I was saying, like 65, it was at sort of 46.50 just before the number came out. That to me is the level to be looking at to get in. Any questions, guys, as we sort of just mull over the outcome there? No? Oh, I don't know why Daniel didn't get in there. Yeah, so anyone, just a quick question there. If you did, anyone had a pending order, I'd be interested to see where it was. To me, this is actually like I was going to say almost gorgeous, right? Because it's rallied up towards 90. It's come back to 65, our sort of key level, and you're sort of in there. You've got some, you get in at a good rate. And now the thing you got to do now is just let it go, right? The only things I would be looking for, and I'm just going to crash out here, is if it got really overbought, I might look to unload the position. See where it is. It's almost we back at 80 yet, folks. I can't believe it. Yeah, so that's where we are, guys. It's looking pretty good at the moment, right? So the any questions?
Yeah, Brad, how long are you going to wait for this to actually get going before you shut it down? Like it's just kind of hovering around there and dropping.
Oh yeah, Mike. Good question. This is where you do not need to be looking at your screens, right? So you could be sort of buying some here and selling them a bit higher, get a few kicks. What you would be looking at now is actually coming in. I would quickly just go, you know what? Let's just check out the analysis here, see if there's any new trend lines I need to be looking at. And then, Mike, I would be turning everything off. I'm like, okay, I've got the bull bear pivot line. Just going to sit back and let it go and see what happens. Actually, and as I say that, I mean, you know what? I was being a bit cheeky there. I did sell
Well,
some.
this is what I mean right now, exactly.
Well, actually, funnily enough, I'm sort of like just jobbing the position around, right? So I sold at 76.2, which is now looks a bit like a genius, but the real trade starts now, right? What happens straight after the numbers is repositioning. All the people who are short, bang out their positions. The market is going to be positioning to get long. Now it starts. We don't usually get this bigger pullback. I'm like looking at this going, hang on, that's a little bit too far. Whether that was built into Sterling or not. But what I'm looking for, this is why I just did that extra little bit of analysis is, okay, we've got a short-term support trend line here. 1, 2, 3. I've got the bull bear pivot line, and I've got where that Fibonacci comes into play here as well. So to me, like looking at that level, what is that? That's actually down in the 20s. It will, now that you know what's going on, if you're in the position, Mike, I'm telling you, don't worry. See, if you sit here and watch the price action, it's just going to go, you're like, oh my God, this doesn't look good. But it'll be back in the 70s before you know it. And,
Hmm.
or if you haven't got any yet, wait, right? If you're not comfortable yet, the easiest trade is after the number. And what I'm talking about is like in an hour's time, right? We'll have all the answers then. You know what? But then sometimes it could be up here and you're like, well, it's gone too far. But it doesn't matter because we can still get in. The good thing about this CPI number is we can get in for the next week, right? That's what this does for us, right? So let me just get rid of those rainbows. And so that's a huge pullback, bigger than I expected. But weaker dollar has to be the way of it. Just give the markets a little bit of time, work through and this is the situation. What will be happening here? If I can just get the top of the, where is that? Was that 90, 88? I was like, wow, that's a big spike. So what you get is the spike. Okay, everyone who's bought up the top here, they're the ones who are selling in down here under 60, going, oh my God, I've just been hammered, right? For
Are
me,
you in this right now?
no, I'm not at the moment actually. So I got had the order in there, right? Then I only got them at 70. I sold those at 76.2 just to see how the price action would go. And this is like the realistically, I thought it was a bit higher. The buy zone is down around 20, right? 129.20. So, but I'm surprised it's sort of here and just want to sort of see what's going on. The next 20 minutes we'll sort of have a bit of like we'll start to see if there's any sort of real lineup of the currencies. At the moment, they're still not lining up. Like it's a bit of discombobulation here. Um, so let me just
Yeah, I
get
see the index spike down too, and it's doing the exact opposite almost.
yeah. So is this a part of all that sort of stuff I sort of mentioned at the start? With we've got Ukraine signing the peace deal, we've got Trump with all the tariffs, and then everyone retaliating. It's like the fact is the US economy is still slowing, or it is starting to slow again, right? So that's the key part to it. Then you come back and you're like, this is where it can be more comfortable for a lot of traders is forget about trading the actual number. Think of like the direction. Like go with the direction. It's safer. You know how Sterling sort of went up to 88, down to 65, up to sort of 78, something, then down to 50. It's you get three or four chances. If you get the direction right and you get in, you're going to have three or four chances to get in or out if the price action sort of looks a bit funky, right? And that's where we are. So the good trades are coming from here on in. I would say tomorrow, once the market calms down, we'll get the dollar trend back in play. That's what I'm going to be using Primetime Pro, and I'll be sort of posting that on the site. So, um, oh my God, this is like a little bit weird,
Yeah,
freaking me out, right? Because I'm like, hang on, this is what's going on here. If this was fully backed in, which I didn't see at all, right? And Sterling's taking a big kick in the guts here as well. So let me just come back to the numbers. Unless we sort of missed something, it's the 2.8. Yeah, so that's weaker, slightly weaker. I mean, there's nothing in here that I don't even know what this CPI wage earner. I've seen it around a
I'm
few
just
times.
wondering if there was any news while this is all going on.
Yeah, that's right. So, and well, there's the only news I've seen up the top. The breaking news is let's just have a quick look at the breaking news here. No, I haven't seen anything, but you're right, Mike. It smells of something's come out and is disrupting the whole flow of the markets there, right? Yeah. Leonard's actually saying, actually, I did mention you at the start, Leonard. Leonard's our Fibonacci guru. He said the euro, based on the Fibo, right? Both 1 hour and daily should retrace to 107.86, right? And then
Yeah,
move back up. Oh,
yeah,
there you are.
based on my analysis, the Euro US peaked at the 168, both of them at the same time. So you're looking for a retracement, even with the news. That's why it really didn't move because they're both hit. There's confluence there, and you get confluence down to at 107.86.
Okay, let's down here. Well, that'd be a hell of a flush out. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, that is one of the strangest sort of moves after the numbers. And that's right, Sapperbeck. The market will be waiting. This is actually, you know what? This is probably the key to it, waiting for the bell, right? You get the main equity markets opening up. They see weaker numbers. These equity markets are going to roar, right? They should roar back. There should be, I'd say, like a 2% update because, after the big belting, this means potentially lower rates in the States going forward. And that's going to see a big day here. So when that bell rings, that's when, this is actually going back to the global financial crisis. We used to have the economic numbers come out. No one would do anything. We'd wait for Wall Street to open. Then we traded, which was weird, right? Because it was never like that. It looks like it might be that sort of scenario again. I can't see Euro, Sterling, Aussie, Kiwi not going up if the equity markets start racing above 2%. But good one to look at. All right, guys. I tell you what, one lesson there. Denny's just said a good thing there too. Another lesson to be learned there on that whole thing. The decision to not use stop loss order on a number like that would have been a bloodbath. I would have got set in the high 80s, a bit tears, right? Because you're like, what the hell is going on? So that was a good decision. You know what? And I sort of feel a little bit better about that anyway because I have got Primetime Pro, and that sort of, these days is making most of the cash. All right, guys. Well, that's a bit of a wrap. Disappointing we didn't get the follow through, but I tell you what, plenty to work with over the coming days. Like this inflation number is going to be in the market for the next couple of weeks, so don't feel like you've missed out yet. Because, as I said, trading starts from here, and we'll see how we get on. All right, thanks for joining me. Have a good one, everyone, and yeah, and like, don't be afraid to keep the chat going here, right? Because if you've got positions on and you're in the market, jump in here, and if you've got questions about your analysis, hey, I'm thinking about doing this or that. That's where you get in there and start asking a few questions. There's power in the community, I'm telling you. All right, guys, have a good one. I'll get this up on the site. Have a good day or evening. We'll catch you later on. Cheerio.